the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Holiday Commission in conjunction with the newly renovated, newly renamed Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Social Justice Middle School. It's a century-old building which once housed the old Weaver from 1922 for approximately 50 years or so, and the Martin Luther King Elementary School for an additional 50, and had never been renovated in all of that time. But baby, look at me now. Right? Can we just take a minute to appreciate how intricate and gorgeous the stonework and the details are, and to think this was here all the time, just covered up and neglected. I want to thank Mayor Luke Bronin, Superintendent of the Hartford Public School Systems, Dr. Leslie Torres Rodriguez, at the Hartford Board of Education, Ms. Nushette Burke Black, this community, and the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Social Justice Middle School Principal, Dr. Doreen Crawford, for inviting us into your home. Fresh on the heels of your new ribbon cutting, we're having an inaugural event, a housewarming celebration in your home. Thank you for opening the doors to us. I'd like to give a little background on why we chose to come here in April. Typically, the commission holds an annual event at the state capitol in January, but this April was a little special. On April 4th, you see, it was the 53rd anniversary of Dr. King's death. We celebrate his anniversary, the birth, the commemoration of the national holiday, and his death each year. But what made this also special is that Easter fell on Dr. King's commemorative anniversary. And what made it even more special is that Passover concluded on April 4th, the same day. Now, I'm not a numerologist, but I was curious, because I am intellectually curious, as to what this all meant. We will not see Easter and the Dr. King anniversary of his death converging again until 2083. And to have Passover, Easter, and the commemoration all converge in the same year, the chances don't happen all that often. So this rare occurrence led us to really want to do something in the month of April, which is why we're here. And then, as we look around the world around us and the events that we're being bombarded with each day and see Asian American hate, tomorrow, May 1st, marks the start of Asian American and Pacific Islander History Month. So it's just fitting that we were here today on April 30th. I'm so glad this date was vetted. The confluence of the death of someone who inspired hope with this wonderful season of Advent and commencement of spring, a season of newness, reemergence, resurgence, resilience, vitality, hope. As we reflect upon the gravitas and the profundity of loss, confusion, and uncertainty that we collectively experienced in 2020, we need a way to move together from loss to light. And that's what this program is. That's why we've titled it From Loss to Light. We were traumatized in 2020 by loss of life. 3.17 million globally, 575,000 nationally. In our state, 8,084 as of today. What we tend to forget oftentimes as we rattle off numbers is that each and every number is a face, a body, a life, a someone to someone, and a host of someones to whom they mattered. So much more than mere cold numbers, but mothers and fathers, tias and tios, nanas, papas, daughters and sons. In addition to loss of life, there was loss of income, loss of stability, loss of employment, unfathomable, unthinkable loss. In addition to the physical toll, the clear tangibles, there's been a substantial toll on mental and emotional health, a topic which the Commission highlighted at our February event. So today, let's celebrate our journey forward together from loss to light. Shall we? We'll begin our program by inviting the MLK Social Studies teacher, Dr. Danielle Griffiths, and a special group of students from this school to the stage to perform the national anthem. They will be followed by music teacher Ronald Acosta playing the Black national anthem on saxophone.
Can we all stand? Is that okay? Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight were the ramparts we watched, were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof to the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, Ms. Griffiths. Thank you, Mr. Acosta, and thank you, students. Before we move on to the invocation, I just want to mention again, in terms of COVID protocols, we'll have all of the speakers, when it's your turn to speak, please ascend the stairs here to the podium, and please descend that staircase. And that's just for COVID protocols and to kind of observe distancing concerns. Before we go to the invocation, and as Reverend Dr. Michael David Bailey makes his way to the stage, he's the co-pastor of the First Cathedral in Bloomfield, and we're so glad to have him here to deliver our invocation. As a bit of history, just across the street on the corner of Greenfield and Oakland Terrace, a Jewish synagogue was built a few years after this school was built. Vandalism, neglect, and more eventually led it to disrepair over time. After purchasing the rundown temple in 1975, around the time that this school became the Martin Luther King Elementary, Reverend Leroy Bailey Jr. led efforts to secure the former Agudas Achim Temple. Bailey raised the money to purchase it from the previous owners, and he led a congregation effort to revitalize the building. I mention all of that because it is a blessing to have a member of the Bailey family here. As I've learned from the community, Archbishop Leroy Bailey Jr. was instrumental in fighting for this school to stand and to be preserved before this most recent fight. So it's a pleasure and an honor to have you here, Reverend Dr. Michael Bailey.
May we pray. May we pray. Lord, we honor you for another opportunity to gather together in celebration of your providential hand being seen right before us. We celebrate the Imago Dei, being created in the image of you, Almighty God. We say thank you for allowing us to witness the miracle of your power. Lord, we also thank you for the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Commission and the work that you have set their hands and minds to complete. We ask that you would bless and guide them. Father, we ask that you would continue to bless and guide our superintendent, Dr. Leslie Torres Rodriguez, and the entirety of the Hartford Public School System. We petition to you to touch every principal, every administrator, every staff personnel, every teacher, every parent, and guardian of these your children. So, Father, as we gather here today, we would like to ask you to place your special hand of blessing on Dr. Doreen Crawford and the community of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Social Justice Middle School. May this be a place and community sanctioned for peace and justice. And let this peace and justice extend to the entirety of the city of Hartford, Connecticut. And let this peace and justice break down the barriers of hatred and fortify a citadel of love. Sovereign Master, through your great demonstration of love and in this moment, teach us to love one another, so that where there is injury, may we show pardon. Where there is error, may we reveal truth. Where there is doubt, may we show faith. Where there is despair, may we show hope. Where there is darkness, may we beam with light. Where there is sadness, may we share joy. In doing so, help we, your people, to love and care one to another. Heavenly Father, help us to see life through your lens. O Ancient of Days, open our eyes to see the world as you see it. Break our hearts with what breaks yours. And Lord, empty us of all but the responsibility to love. You are the ultimate definition of love. So Lord, we believe you will do all these things amongst so many petitions. In the name of the Father, the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, I pray. Amen.
Amen. And we will be having another prayer follow that. Remember that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. wasn't just doctor, he was Reverend Doctor. Yes. And what we're going to do with this prayer, it's the Lord's Prayer, which many of you know. All of us have different faith backgrounds, different worship habits, but if you feel comfortable joining along with the prayer, please do. In an ode of, or an expression of solidarity with the Asian American community and a show of support, I'm going to call Caden Stewart forward. He's a senior at Northwest Catholic, honor roll student, and he speaks Mandarin fluently. And he'll be accompanied by the lovely Miss McKenna Lindsay, a student at American University. She's currently a sophomore studying philosophy and Spanish.
Let us pray. 我们在天上的父，
Our Father who art in heaven,
愿人都尊你的名为圣，
hallowed be thy name.
愿你的国降临，
Thy kingdom come, thy will be done,
愿你的旨意行在地上，
on earth as it is in heaven.
如同行在天上。
Give us this day
我们日用的饮食，
our daily bread,
免我们的债，
and forgive us our trespasses,
如同我们免了人的债，
as we forgive those who trespass against us.
不叫我们遇见试探，
And lead us not into temptation,
救我们脱离凶。Amen.
but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever and ever. Amen.
Thank you to both of them. And if I could, from a perspective of full disclosure, the young honor roll student who's 16 and co-captain of the football team happens to be my son, my baby, my little munchkin. And this lovely, sweet young lady who's as brilliant and as beautiful as her mother, Dr. Stacy Brown, the secretary for the commission. Next, we are excited to have a musical selection by the Martin Luther King students, The Gifted Ones.
She's gonna get us. Is she here? Dr. Carter here yet? Oh, she can see. Hurry, let's stay ball. Let's stay ball. Let's stay ball, Pastor. Oh, okay. I'm gonna see all of this. Oh, you ready? Ready? Where's Dr. King? Where's Dr. King at? Wait, open the curtains. Where's Dr. King? Oh, there we go. All right. We go. Y'all ready? Spread out. Are we in our right places? Are we in our right places? We're not in our right places. Come on, get in our right places. Hurry. We're running late. We gotta get the bus. Okay. Ready? We're in our right places now? Okay. Oh, is the ambulance? Okay. Ready? You ready? Yeah. Go. Martin Luther King School, here to stay. We work hard every single day. In the classroom or virtually. It doesn't matter what you come naturally. Yes. Coronavirus tries to set us back, okay? No matter what, we will get back on track. No matter what, we will follow our dreams. Who said it best? Dr. Martin Luther King and what? Okay, and what? What did you say? You forgot the music. Oh, you guys, some of you guys forgot your energy. If I play the music, y'all gonna give me energy? Yeah. All right, let's go. Because I'll work them out right here. Okay. Okay, wait. Hold this for me, please. Hold that. Thank you, honey. She's beautiful. Okay. Y'all ready? With energy? Okay. Here we go. Gotta be loud. No matter what, we will get back on track. No matter what, we will follow
some weary days and some lonely nights. But when I look around, and I think things over, you know what? All of my good days
Ready, position.
outweigh my bad days. I won't complain.
Can you guys give it up for the Martin Luther King? These babies work very hard. There's some different ones here today. I got here today only to find out that my 7th graders were in quarantine. So I was like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? But y'all handled it, and you know, I'm proud of you. It's hard working with me because I'm going to follow you in the streets. I'm going to follow you at home. I'm going to follow you in your classroom, and that's love. But they'll tell you I'm going to give you a treat or two, and I thank you, Dr. Crawford, for allowing me to do what I do. I thank you to my boss, Alden Allen, just for believing in everything that I ever had in me for 25 years. Thank you for anybody that sowed a seed into me to do the work that I do. There's 1,000 of them, and we're coming. Thank you. Take a bow.
And we did not plan to have that segue, but it's perfect. The idea of her thanking and showing gratitude for those who poured into her when she was young. That leads us perfectly, couldn't have planned a better segue, to the introduction of our next very, very special VIP. Everyone here is special. Each and every face that I'm looking at in each of these seats. I'm even getting a little cross-eyed and thinking I see folks in the empty ones. But everyone here is special. But I want to take a moment to really recognize this young VIP and why she's so special to me. I had the pleasure a few years back of attending a 100 Women of Color function that was held outside in a park in Simsbury. I can't remember the name of the facility at this point, but there was a young girl who spoke, and she was so articulate, so poised, so confident. I thought, I want to be just like her when I grow up. I had an opportunity after the event to just say to her mother in passing, your daughter is lovely. It was an absolute pleasure to hear her speak. And this young, very humble, I might add, girl, who's very confident, which I love to see, said yes. And one day I'm going to be president of the United States. And I believe her. And so I want to be here today as part of that pouring in process. And I'm hoping that all of you are here committed to that pouring in process for this young lady and her brother. I don't mean to leave him out, but I haven't had a chance to get to know Tyshawn, her little brother, as yet. But here's a little background on our next guest. Our next guest is Miss Mariah Cubano. She's 9 years old. Her brother Ty is 6 years old. They were tired of going to the library and the bookstore and not finding characters that looked like them. And at 9 and 6 years old, obviously in a house with a mother who pushes and pours into them, they decided to do something about it and not just complain or be sad or pick a book that they didn't really want to read that day. So they started or became part of the Black Character Matters Representation campaign. Now that's already an endeavor for a 9-year-old and a 6-year-old to undertake, but that wasn't enough. Mariah figured, I might as well write a book. So we are so blessed to have 9-year-old author of a published book. The title is I've Been Told. And she does have that book here for sale today. I'm not trying to hawk products, but I really do want to pour love and pour support into what she's trying to do to show her that the community does rally behind her. And at the end of this program, she'll have a book signing. So if you didn't buy your book as yet, you still have an opportunity to do so. But it is my pleasure to introduce to you Miss Mariah Cubano, age 9, and her brother Tyshawn Yop, age 6. Please come to the stage. And as they're making their way to the stage, I just want to add they've donated 896 children's books with black characters to schools throughout Connecticut since their campaign began.
Hi, I'm Mariah. I'm 9 years old. And I'm Tyshawn. I'm 6 years old. And we are the founders of Black Characters Matter. Black Characters Matter is about we raise money so we could get books with black characters in them and put them in display in school libraries and community organizations so students can see themselves in their books. I'm an author and I wrote a book because I want to share the message that we are all better together. Let's continue to push out hate by loving and respecting each other regardless of race or color. I'm going to be sharing a poem with you and I hope you enjoy. I've been told I'm yellow or light-skinned, but no matter what you call me, I'm black within. African American, young girl with the puffy hair. T since I was 3, my kids look different than me. Taught by my parents to be proud, love who I am, and stand tall, even if I'm different than them all. I continue to grow my inner strength by loving who I am and knowing I'm always enough. I couldn't allow hate to win, and I ask all who's listening to do the same. Don't allow hate to fill your heart, because we're all better together, not apart. Love your neighbor no matter what, race or color, because love wins when we're kind to one another. Finally, I want to end with this. I'm thankful to all my African American ancestors and all the people who grew up on slavery and segregation so I never have to go through that. I hope that one day we can really be free and not be judged by the color of our skin. Please show love and teach love because I matter, you matter, we matter, Black Lives Matter.
Do you see why I fell in love with this young lady at first sight? And Tyshawn, I love you as well. I can't wait to get to know you even more. And I think Mariah and Tyshawn have a very special announcement for the school.
We're going to be donating two of my books to the school. And to end it, we're going to share a very important quote. Love is the key to the problems of the world. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mariah and Mr. Tyshawn. Thank you so much. Thank you, Melody. Yeah, my heart is full just watching the next generation that's preparing to be able to help lead us forward. Again, from lost to light, from stuck to forward. Thank you, Mariah, and thank you, Ty. And what I wanted to mention about the two books that she's donating specifically, there are two books from the books that she's written. And one of the books will be for posterity, to be preserved in a case and for archives, to be read, touched, reflected upon at a later date, but not really to be used or loaned. The second book is for the school library to ensure that kids are able to read the book. And now we'll have the acknowledgement of dignitaries, and we're asking for brief remarks, if I can get the sentence out, of 1 to 2 minutes in duration. And in the interest of time, because we do have quite a few speakers, my introductions of each of them will not be as lengthy as they could or should be. All of these people who are coming up to speak are wonderful, phenomenal in their own right. They're community leaders, federal level leaders, state leaders, etc., who've crossed many barriers to be able to do the jobs and the tasks that they do, and we are so grateful for them. I'll try to add a sentence or two to make sure that they're properly acknowledged, but it may not be as extensive as I might otherwise like to do. So again, thank you for allowing us to attend your housewarming here at Martin Luther King. Let's not have her ready to kick us out of her house for overstaying our welcome. So we'll keep the remarks down. First, we'll have Connor Quinn. Mr. Connor Quinn is here as a representative of Congressman John Larson, who represents the 1st District. He's the Deputy Chief of Staff of the Hartford office for Congressman John Larson.
Thank you so much. It's truly wonderful to be here. I don't know how I'm going to follow up Mariah and Ty, but I'll try my best. That was incredible. Thank you so much for that excerpt and your remarkable words. You two kids are an inspiration for children all across the city and the state. So thank you very much. Regrettably, the congressman could not be here today. But he did want to send me, and he has this flag, which was flown over the U.S. Capitol, and accompanying the flag is a certificate of what's the word? Authenticity. Sorry about that. I told you I'm not. It's a tough act to follow. This is, like I said, this flag was flown over the U.S. Capitol at the request of Congressman John Larson in celebration of the new Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Social Justice Middle School. So thank you again for inviting us. It's a pleasure to be here, and I am so grateful to take part in this celebration. So thank you again.
Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much to Mr. Connor Quinn and to Congressman John Larson for wanting to make sure that he sent and expressed his regrets. We also heard from Senator Blumenthal's office, Congresswoman Hayes' office, Congresswoman DeLauro's, and typically I would read the statements just to share what they had to say, but again, in the interest of time, I won't do that today. Next, we have from the state of Connecticut, Office of the Attorney General, we're pleased to welcome Attorney Vanessa Avery, our state's Associate Attorney General and Chief of the Division of Enforcement and Public Protection. And there's so much I want to say about her bio, you all, but please, in the interest of time, forgive me.
Thank you.
I'm going to adjust this.
Sure.
Actually, there you are.
Attorney General William Tong wanted to be here today and asked me to speak on his behalf. I think it's fitting that this school is being named in honor of social justice, and because of the moment we're in, I want to take a few moments just to reflect upon that if I can. Our country is in the midst of a national reckoning on hate and race. On April 20th, I waited, along with millions of people around the world, probably many of you, to hear the verdict in the trial of George Floyd's murderer. George Floyd was killed in broad daylight while a 17-year-old girl videotaped the killing, and her 9-year-old cousin looked on. They both testified at that trial, and the individual and collective trauma of that day is still palpable today. Arguably, one of the best trial teams, one of the best prosecution teams in the country tried that case. And yet, everybody I knew waited until the very last minute, wondering if even one of those 3 charges would stick. That there was even a question underscores why we need a school like this, why we need people fighting for social justice even today in 2021. I want to underscore also the uptick in violence that we've seen toward the Asian community in the past year. So many incidents. And it's past time for us to say that enough is enough and time for us to really start banding together and standing up together to do something about it. There are things we can do starting now, small things and large things, young and old can do. One of them is if we see something, say something, right? To take a note from the slogan that's posted everywhere in all of our transportation centers. I also want to uplift the need to teach our students and our adults, the public, about our history, the full story of American history, Black and brown communities, Asian communities, the ugly parts, slavery, the Chinese Exclusion Act, Japanese internment, all of it, but also the beautiful parts, all of the things that make us a beautiful nation, all of the diversity, all of the heroes. I am honored to work every day on behalf of the people of the state of Connecticut, and I want to close by sharing a quote from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., that I have posted in my office, and I find inspiration in every day, and I think it is fitting for this school. That quote is from the March for Integrated Schools in 1959, but it still resonates today. And it is, "Make a career of humanity. Commit yourself to the noble struggle for equal rights. You will make a better person of yourself, a greater nation of your country, and a finer world to live in." Thank you.
And again, there was so much I wanted to say about her. I'll add this. I found out that she and I share the same undergraduate alma mater, which she doesn't know as yet. For the next few speakers, if you're from the North Hartford community, they may not require any introduction at all. I remember being at the state capitol a few years ago, and Attorney Cheryl Sharp, the Deputy Director of the Commission on Human Rights and Opportunities, made a comment about being from the North End and defying stereotypes. I'm paraphrasing it poorly, but she was commenting as Treasurer Sean Wooden stood up to speak from North Hartford. She stood up to speak, also from the North Hartford area, and I was there present speaking as well, from Bowles Park, also North Hartford. I'd like to now bring to the stage and to the podium our Treasurer, Sean T. Wooden.
Thank you, Lori.
Welcome, good to see you.
It really feels so good to be home. And this site, I'd like to thank the commission for choosing this site, because if we're going to talk about social justice, this is ground zero in so many ways. City of Hartford, North Hartford, Martin Luther King School has been ground zero for a fight for social justice over and over and over again. And I can remember as city council president, Dr. Crawford reaching out to me and inviting me to tour this school. This is before the renovations. And meeting with parents, and we walked through here, and we could easily agree this school was in no condition that any of you would want your kids to go to. And it was criminal that at the time the city was not stepping up to get the renovations done. The boiler system could go at any time. You wouldn't even want to sit in these chairs in this room. I thank you for that tour. I don't know if you recall, but I took pictures and I brought those back to City Hall. And I said, this is not right. Either close it down or let's be honest and be committed and get this renovated. So that's about social justice. That's about speaking up. And thank you. So There's so much I could say, but in the interest of time, I will keep this brief and say, thank you to the Hartford Board of Education. I see Craig there, I see the superintendent, and so many people that have rallied in this community. And when I say this community, I mean the broad greater Hartford community. I see Mayor Cantor from West Hartford and Mayor Suzette DeBeetham Brown from Bloomfield. This is about community and coming together in all of us. And this is a symbol for it. And I will close with one of my favorite quotes from Dr. King. It says, "The arc of the moral universe bends towards justice." But I always add, it doesn't bend on its own. It doesn't bend on its own. It's the work that we do to fight. And so thank you, Lori and the commission, and thank you, everybody, and what you do for this community in Connecticut. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sean. And next we'll have Attorney Cheryl Sharp. As I mentioned earlier, she's the Deputy Director of the Commission on Human Rights and Opportunities, and that office also serves as the Secretariat for the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Holiday Commission. Hello, Cheryl.
Greetings, everyone. Anyone who knows me knows that it's difficult to be brief, but I will. I will be. I am honored to have been invited here today to speak. This school, as I drove up to it, is a symbol of hope in our community. I am from the north end of Hartford, born and raised around the corner, and I just am full. As soon as I pulled up, I couldn't even believe the progress. And our state treasurer, Sean Wooden, talked about it. I couldn't believe the progress that we have made as a community, because it is about doing the work. It is about allyship. It is about coming together, putting our differences aside, and coming together as one to walk in righteousness, like Dr. Martin Luther King wanted us to, until justice runs down like water. Right? And righteousness like a mighty stream. We have to fight. We have to pull together, and we have to fight. This represents hope. This represents the children of yesterday and the children of the future. And Sean and I were both one of those children. And with our community, we were able to achieve our dreams. So I am hoping and praying that you will stand, not just today, with the students in this community and commit to their success, commit to their dreams and the hopes that they have, because one day, not so long in the future, one of the MLK students who performed for us will be standing here presenting to us as we sit in the audience gleaming with pride. So thank you to the MLK Commission. It is my honor and my pleasure to be here, and I am very excited to see what is next. And I just have to finally say, what an experience to hear from a 9 and a 6-year-old child as to how they want to see themselves in the books that they're reading, so that they can imagine themselves in those stories. Today, I am full, and what I'm full of is hope. Thank you very much.
And it seems like Treasurer Wooden and Attorney Cheryl, Deputy Director, are echoing the theme very well. From loss to light, hope. We were expecting to have Senator Doug McCauley here, but as I look out in all these filled seats to capacity, I don't think I can make him out of the crowd. So we'll move on. Is Representative Hilda Santiago here? All righty. State Representative Hilda Santiago actually reached out to us and requested an invitation because she wanted to be a part of this. She's in the Meriden area in terms of the district she represents, but she is concerned about a host of issues and wanted to be able to be present. We also had Representative Brandon McGee, but again, it's so full and the lights are so bright, I don't think I see Brandon. We're moving on next to a gentleman who, again, because I have to be brief with introductions, I'll try to keep it as brief as I can. But a few years ago, when he joined the Connecticut General Assembly as a representative, he proposed a bill to introduce African American studies into the curriculum and have it be something that was required, mandatory, so that everybody can get a taste of what history is, not just during February, the shortest month of the year, coincidentally. And so it's with great pleasure that I bring up Representative Bobby Gibson, who managed to pass that bill. And as the bill made its way through the legislative process, we also brought along Latinx studies, as well as a few, well, I'll let him come up and tell you, because I don't remember all of it, but I know that there's a few different groups being represented. I think Native American studies as well. So yes, so please welcome Representative Bobby Gibson. And because of him, little Mariah, little Tyshawn, the students here at MLK will get African American studies in their curriculum. Thank you, Representative Gibson.
Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And hopefully, not hopefully, we know that this building, this school, will address that. I want to bring greetings from the state of Connecticut, and I will represent my colleagues from the Connecticut General Assembly who could not be here today. To Dr. Crawford and clergy in the building, I'll bring you greetings and good afternoon. This is such a wonderful building, and this is such a wonderful day. I feel special. I remember when this building was actually Old Weaver. And I remember sitting at Mark Twain School, maybe third or fourth grade, when they were building the new Weaver over across the way, and this school was still here. But, you know, when I travel and go into different cities, you know, it's like a horrible joke that, you know, when anything that's named Martin Luther King, it's like in a bad area or it's bad. But for this school to be here and named after one of perhaps the greatest human beings to walk on this planet is such a wonderful, wonderful testament. And this is such a wonderful school. Thank you, Commissioner, for having me here today, and thank you, Cousin, for having me up here today. We did it. We passed 2 years ago a bill into law, Public Act 1912, so that Black and Latino history be taught in schools. And it was such a great testament to the state because it was a team effort. The whole state came together, and I remember the day of the hearing, you were there, it had to be 200 or 300 people who testified at that hearing. Mayor Brown from Bloomfield, great town of Bloomfield next door, was there. And, you know, it was such a great day that that bill was passed and put into law so now our kids can learn their history. So perhaps, you know, when we talk about social justice, that right there is social justice. When we talk about social justice and bringing things from lost to light, we have to think about this pandemic. As the vice chair of the Black and Puerto Rican Caucus, there's a couple things that we're fighting for when it talks about bringing things from lost to light. Things of injustice, things such as voting expansion and housing and education and jobs and transportation, environmental issues, as well as police accountability. So there's a lot of work that we have to do to focus on social justice. There's a lot of work we have to do to bring our people forward. And so in conclusion, I will say this. It fills my heart when I see the poets who came up here to speak today. It fills my heart when I see the gifted ones who performed today and did such a great job. And the work that we have to do. They played a song just now. The song was I Won't Complain. I wish I could sing. I was singing a couple bars. But when you think about social justice and the things I just mentioned, when you think about the things that the attorney and treasurer Wooden just spoke about, we have a lot of work still to do. May God bless this building, and may this be a place of social justice that the light shines throughout the state. And just like the song, we all know that we're going to continue working and we won't complain. Thank you.
And that concludes the speakers from the state level, federal and state level. Thank you again to Attorney Vanessa Avery, State Treasurer Wooden, and Attorney Cheryl Sharp. Next, on the city and municipal level, we're supposed to be welcoming Mayor of Hartford, Luke Bronin. But again, don't see him in the crowd, so we'll keep moving. He did mention that he might be a little late, so he may still come. We also would like to have the pleasure of welcoming Superintendent of Hartford Public Schools, Dr. Leslie Torres Rodriguez.
Good afternoon, everyone. So, Lori, I have to thank you first for the intentionality and the meaning with which you have, one, gathered us here, and the meaning and intentionality behind your messaging. And also for lifting and bringing into the room our Asian American and Pacific Islanders, brothers and sisters. And to our students for their brilliance, I want to thank them. Welcome our dignitaries, our neighbors. I see both our mayors here, Mayor Brown and Cantor, and to everyone else that is here today. You know, when I think about the collective effort, there are many of us that have been part of the long journey to have a space and a place for our students to be seen, heard, and validated. And want to especially call out our Board of Education members, Mr. Stalling, and new board member, Pastor A.J. Johnson. This event, From Lost to Light, calls on us to certainly reflect upon the last year, recognize and also acknowledge that our students, our families, our staff, our collective community have been impacted in many ways by the COVID pandemic. But we don't forget of the other backdrop, right? The backdrop, the pandemic that was already there before, right? The inequity, the social injustice, racial and social injustice. And so many of our staff and families have endured tremendous loss. And we've all experienced to some degree stress and trauma, all of which informs how we are currently responding, but how we're going to have to respond for the long term, right, for our students and families as we recover. So at Hartford Public Schools, we know that we need to recover the time lost in terms of learning, but we also need to tend to the mental health and wellness of our students and our families. Many of our students have returned back to full-time instruction, but we know that we have to continue to expand our support, and that means through our partnerships with our community-based providers to ensure that we tend to the whole student. Just last week, we gathered here in this majestic space, and this facility, as many others have shared, it does house the Martin Luther King Social Justice Middle School. It also houses Breakthrough North Magnet School. And there was intentionality behind that as well. We operate within an ecosystem of school choice, and so with that, allows opportunities for school integration. And so that pairing, if you will, right, adds an additional intentionality and commitment to making sure that while we tend to the needs of our community here, local community, we also extend beyond Hartford and welcome our brothers and sisters from other communities as well. Throughout our schools, we want to make sure that we remain committed to the vision, a shared vision that we hold our collective selves to a higher standard so that we can address the social, the racial equity that is so critical in our communities, in our Black, Hispanic, and other students of colors and families of color and their communities. So places like this that honor 21st century learning that many other communities, right, are way ahead of us, that matters. Places that offer culturally relevant to our young students here, our youth that presented, right, a resource, context, text that allows our students to see themselves in their learning. Trauma-informed supports. All of those are crucial to our students and are real and will happen here and throughout our entire community. That also speaks to how we are going to continue to disrupt, right, those systems that have been in place, right? Those things that are so unjust that have been baked into the systems for so long. And so I want to thank you all. I want to thank the commission for not only the partnership, but the ongoing dedication. And to our families, to our school leadership and our staff, our partners, I want to thank you for co-creating this space with us, for coming together in new ways, and want to leave you with the belief that we all have for one another, and most importantly, the belief that we have in our beautiful and capable students. So thank you and have a great rest of the afternoon.
And I would like to mention that if any of the dignitaries who are able to stay could please ensure that they do so. We want to ensure that little Mariah and Tyshawn have an opportunity to take pictures with future leaders whose shoes they may one day fill and or surpass, God willing. That's what we want for our children, right? To be able to stand on our shoulders and go forward. Next up, we have Mr. Craig Stallings, former PTO president at 2 Hartford schools and coordinator of the original governance council at Thurman Milner School. He's here on behalf of the Hartford Public School Board of Education.
Thank you. I'll be brief. I'm also a former chairman of the Hartford Board of Education, and it was during my tenure that we were able to fulfill this project. I just want to thank everyone involved in it, and I just want to take a step back to acknowledge and thank other people. Mayor Brown from Bloomfield was actually a classmate of mine at Rawson School, and I'm so very proud of her for being mayor. I have Brother Calvin Lovejoy here, who's been a mentor for me and counseled me in a lot of crises. Stan McCauley behind the camera. But more importantly, last but not least, when I was a young man at Weaver High with no real direction and focused my attention narrowly on the negative experiences that I was going through and just struggling as an adolescent, I picked up a mentor. I found a mentor. He found me. I don't know how you can say it, but I had the opportunity to intern for the first African American female mayor of New England, the Honorable Carrie Saxon Perry. And in that process, she had a nice young superstar politician on the rise who was a great gentleman from my neighborhood, and he was a role model for me. So I just want to acknowledge again the Honorable Sean T. Wooden for all of his hard work and all of his patience with me, because without you, I wouldn't be standing here. Without you and your guidance on the city council, and I don't give you enough credit for that, but you procuring that bonding money allowed the superintendent and I to get into those back rooms and truly negotiate this building and make sure that we watchdog this building to what you see today. So I thank you for that so much. And with that, I think of just when you're able to fill a young person's diameter with positive energy and guidance and purpose. That diameter influences the circumference of their lives. And you truly had a major influence on the circumference of my life and my perspective as not just a activist and a politician, but a father. And so again, I'm eternally grateful to you for that. And I say that because it's important for us to reach back and teach young people, embrace them, carry them, kick them in the butt when it's needed, but truly be a resource. And if it wasn't for many people in this room, and I forgot to mention, I had a teacher at Weaver, Miss Frances Sharp, who is the mother of one of our speakers. So again, I was impacted with many different people, indirectly and directly, from this community. And I'm grateful for that. I'm proud of that, and I wear that as a badge of honor. So thank you so much. Thank you for the commission for thinking of us and bringing this here. And hopefully we can do it again when we're fully open and we can have a full auditorium and we can celebrate the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King. Thank you so much. I love you all.
And I just want to bring attention to that recurring theme. We just heard from Mr. Craig Stallings about having people pour into him. We heard from the dance teacher of the Gifted Ones, beautiful name of a group, by the way, of how people poured into her and helped put her on her trajectory. So let us all just remember that that's what we're here to do, keep pouring into that next generation. You also heard some mention about neighboring communities and coming together, and that's exactly what we were intending to do in the legacy of Dr. King. And so we reached out to our surrounding communities, not just the Hartford community in terms of politicians and local leaders, but also our surrounding towns, because we have to support one another. A lot of things really are based on us being able to come together and push and strive together. In unity, there's strength. That old adage stands true today. It is with my pleasure that I now welcome to the podium Mayor Suzette DeBeetham Brown, Mayor of the town of Bloomfield.
Good afternoon. Thank you to the commission, and Dr. Crawford for having your family from Bloomfield here on today. Unlike State Rep Gibson, I can sing, but I won't. But as I was sitting there, the words to the song, "It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new light, and I'm feeling good." I really do want to sing it, but I'm not going to. So here we are in this historic moment, in this historic place. Craig talked about when I was younger. I'm really still young. But I remember going to Fox Middle across the street and seeing Martin Luther King School. And we're talking about from lost to light. And I remember what that building looked like. But now we're standing in a new day, in this magnificent place where our students, 270 plus of them, will learn about social justice. The leader for the Gifted Ones said that we're coming. I believe that they're coming, and they're going to be armed with knowledge. They're going to be armed with education. They're going to be armed with life experience. So they're going to do a lot better than we have done. They're going to be able to right a lot of things that have been wrong for a long time in this place. With this magnificent history, we're arming them, and they're coming. Dr. King said, if you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward. That's what they're going to do. 270 plus of them. They're going to fight with this social justice fight. And we are here to support them, not just today, but every other day, Pastor, with our prayers, with our signs, with our encouragement, whatever it is that we have to do. They're coming, and I can't wait to see them. Thank you.
We are just so blessed and grateful to have our family of mayors here. Next, I'd like to welcome Mayor of West Hartford, Sherry Cantor. Yeah, I read about you doing cartwheels in the parade. You're talented.
It's a thing I do. It's such an honor and a pleasure to be here and be with our neighbor, with our friends and our family too. I am so really honored and touched by the stories and inspired, so inspired. Mariah, Tashawn, your message about giving an example of how important it is to step in, to make change when you don't see that change happening before you. Thank you for all you're doing, and I'm bringing those stories all over wherever I go. It's truly an honor, and I can't wait to purchase the book. Again, thank you for the really inspirational stories. You all know Martin Luther King, the importance of education was that he said to think intensively, to think critically. Intelligence plus character is the goal of a true education. And that's what this social justice place of learning will be. And how important health, well-being, how interconnected we all are. And the pandemic showed from the pandemic of COVID, but also the pandemic of racial injustice and so much more, unfortunately, that are the challenges our country faces. So again, thank you for including me. Thank you for your work, your incredible work. Dr. Crawford, thank you for welcoming us into your home. I wish you so much happiness and enrichment here. Lori, thank you for organizing and for your beautiful voice. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you.
And before I introduce the next representative from the town of Windsor, I just wanted to make sure that I acknowledge the fact that I am just one of many in terms of the Martin Luther King Jr. Holiday Commission. So I do appreciate, and I'll accept the gratitude on behalf of all of them when it is expressed, but it's a wonderful commission full of people with just so much love, so much time, so much talent, and so much dedication to wanting to be able to have Dr. King's legacy move forward. Next we have, from the town of Windsor, Town Councilwoman Lisa Rampula Bress. Mayor Don Trinks was unable to make it, and we are so glad that Ms. Bress, Councilwoman Bress, was able to come.
Thank you, everyone. I'm really excited to be here. I'd like to thank the Commission for such an uplifting afternoon, and boy, do we really need it. The Honorable Mayor Donald Trinks sends his best wishes and regrets that he cannot be here, but I'm really glad he couldn't. Because I am a retired teacher after 30 years of teaching, and to be back in a school and to see the children here and talking and reciting poetry and dancing, I miss it. You miss it. You really do miss it. I also would be remiss if I didn't recognize my fellow town councilor, Councilor Nushette Black-Burke. She's actually here today, and she would be up here with me, but she is actually representing the Hartford Public Schools today in a professional way, so I want to really recognize her. She has been instrumental in Windsor. Windsor, I just have to say this, was one of the first communities to recognize racism as a public health crisis. And that was her doing and her initiative, and we are very, very grateful to have her on the council. I just wanted to say that growing up in the 60s, I shouldn't say that, but as an older person, seeing a school like this is a dream come true. Growing up in an era where civil rights was in the forefront, it's a shame that it's taken so long, but it is so reassuring to know that the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. School will be here. The Social Justice Middle School is here for the children who long to follow Dr. King's legacy and lead and serve in their communities in search of social justice. And Windsor and the Mayor of Windsor and the Council wish them and the school great things moving forward. Thank you very much.
And next, we're going to move on to our local and civic and community leaders. First up, we'd like to welcome someone from this community, Brother Kelvin Lovejoy, lead community organizer for the Blue Hills Civic Association.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me? Wonderful. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to all of the organizers of today's event. And I send greetings from Blue Hills Civic Association and our executive director, Ms. Vicki Gallen-Clark. She was not able to make it today, thus she called me out of the field to come and share these few words with you. I want to say, first of all, again, thank you, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak these few words. I really don't believe in coincidences, and so, I have to tell you a few things. Number one, I went to this school in this very building a long time ago. A long time ago. I am here at the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Social Justice Middle School. And in the very year of my birth, 1967, Dr. King spoke deeply on social justice. And he was speaking into the atmosphere of the urban violence that was going on in 1967. And he described this turmoil as the long, hot summer of 1967. Dr. King said, 1 million words will be spoken and written to dissect the outbreaks, but for a perceptive and vivid expression of culpability, I would submit 2 sentences written a century ago by Dr. Victor Hugo. Dr. Hugo said, if the soul is left in darkness, sins will be committed. But the blame is not on he who commits the sin, but he who creates the darkness. I pray as I close that the children that come from this school, this social justice school, will grow up to be the lights of our community. For as Dr. King said, and it's actually on the bottom of your program in 1957, that darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that. Thank you very much.
Next up, we had Chris Dowd, the board president of the Yale Club of Hartford, or Yale Club and Scholarship Foundation of Hartford. Chris had to leave and go back to the Hartford Insurance Company for work, but I'm speaking on his behalf as a member of that same board. And all Chris wanted to share with all of you is that the Yale Club and Scholarship Club of Hartford is committed to engaging with the community more than it has in the past. In the past, it was much more of a social club, but now they're looking to be able to be more community-minded and community-activated, and I'm part of that process, and I'm really pleased and proud to be a part of that. Next, we have Mr. Howard K. Hill, an entrepreneur and the owner of Howard K. Hill Funeral Services, with branches in Hartford, 2 of them in Hartford, and 1 of them in the Hamden area. And we are pleased to have him with us today.
Good afternoon, everyone. I bring you greetings from Howard K. Hill Funeral Services. I'm the lost part of this program. That was a joke. I want to say congratulations to everyone for all your hard work, superintendent, and everyone who partake in making sure that this social justice school was remodeled and rehabbed. I called Lori before, and I was wondering why was I selected to be here today. And I was explaining to her, I said, sometimes I can say things a little bit off. As you can tell by my pants, I'm a little bit different. And But I don't feel the need to do that today. I feel the change. I feel social justice in action. And I'm very proud to be a part of that and witness that today. But I'm super inspired by the children. The children is what it's all about. And that's why we are all here today. So if I can say something to the children, and that is to be the dream. Thank you all.
And just to dovetail a little bit on what Mr. Hill said, he said he brings the fire and the brimstone. So you got off lucky. I'm glad everybody was talking the right social justice words today, because he was coming for us. Next, we have Reverend Henry Brown from Mothers United Against Violence on the program. Is he here today? All righty. And last but not least, and this is by special request in terms of the last of our full speaker series before we return to other elements of our program, there was a special request that went out for you, Commissioner, brother, Pastor A.J. Johnson. There's a young, beautiful lady who spoke highly of you, and not because she wanted you, but because she believed in everything that you did to ensure that this dream of renovating this school came true. And I can't tell you, I probably would bumble over the words to try to give you all of the adulation and praise that Dr. Doreen Crawford sent your way. But you are here by her special request. You're part of the commission anyway, so we're going to grab you and find you. But please, we welcome you in your remarks.
Greetings, everyone. Thank you so much, Commissioner Stewart, for the wonderful introduction, and thank you to our chairwoman, Donna Campbell, who is the first African-American female commissioner of our commission. Can we please just give her a hand clap of recognition and everything that she has done today to make this happen, and to all of our other commissioners that are here, to all of our other dignitaries that are here. There's so many to name, and I don't want to stumble over any of you, but if you're here, you're somebody special. And if I was in church, I would say touch your neighbor and say you're special. But we're not in church and we ain't touching nobody. All right. But honestly, I just want to just recognize Craig Stallings. I remember sitting in this same auditorium as Treasurer Wooden described, a place where no one would want to sit down, a place where no one would want to be. And, a lot of people have, my fellow board member Craig messed up sometime. He was passionate. He said, we're going to do something about this. And then after him, an architect got up and said, we're going to change all this. And here I am sitting with a group of parents who didn't believe not a word of it. And one of the parents leaned over and said, are they really going to do this? I said, I'm not sure, but it sounds like we have their commitment. So I want to give a shout out to Craig Stallings and his commitment as board chair, being at that time making sure this project went through. Councilman Wooden, who we always would bring residents down here to scream at him, and he got it done. And to Dr. Doreen Crawford, there are no words there are no words about the amount of things that you go through and experience. But there are words that I remember Karen Lott, the former principal at Milner, saying to me. Being a principal in Hartford Public School is like being asked to fly a plane that's half built. It's like being asked to fly a plane that is half built. And I know the struggles that you have had here, and the fact that you remain committed. You could have taken jobs anywhere else, but you are committed to this neighborhood and to this school. And today, this building here is just monumental in the work that you have done here. Can we please put our hands together for Dr. Doreen Crawford? And I mean that. And I mean that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for what you do to our students and for our students. Thank you. Finally, I'll say I've had the opportunity to organize the parents, and I get a lot of credit for a lot of the work, but I have to say that at a point in time, there were parents here that were motivated to keep this school open. The parents said to me, Pastor AJ, I don't want to have my child go to any other town, to any other school. I want my child to remain here in this neighborhood. And they said, Pastor AJ, what we're going to do about it? And at that moment, I realized that there is an ecosystem here in North Hartford that cannot be interrupted. There is an ecosystem here of parents that trust their neighbors. There's an ecosystem here of families, no matter how bad the news calls North Hartford, that love where they live. No matter how bad their apartment buildings and their apartment complexes may look, they love this place because it is their ecosystem. There was a survey that went out to a group of parents that said, would you rather keep your kid here at this school or go elsewhere? Overwhelmingly, the parents said, I want to keep my student here. And that just spoke to the resiliency that these parents had. So if there's anybody who deserves any credit today, it is the parents of this school who have gone on. Their students, their young people probably during that time are in high school. I see a lot of them out in the community. So shout out to that. The second thing I want to say here today is that organizing works. Organizing works. When we come together and we organize, when we come together and we're up under one mission together, we can get anything done. I'm going to say it again. When we organize together, when we use our power, when we use our influence, when we use our connections, when we use our power meaning the ability to act, when we use that power, we can change anything. I remember coming in this school with a technician, and one of the reasons to keep the school closed was the boiler. So we brought a technician down here, the Center for Leadership and Justice, formerly the Christian Activities Council. We paid for a worker to come down here and talk to us about the boiler. And one thing the gentleman said about the boiler that I'll never forget, and I have it on camera, he mentioned that, you know, my grandma is 90, about 85 years old. But do we just kill my grandmother just because she's old? This boiler can be a boiler for a number of times. It just needed some maintenance. And that right there let me know that we have to be more detailed and specific in how we do the work for our children and our parents. We have to find a way to make things work. We have to listen to the most important voices in our community, which are our parents. So we organize and we won. I remember fighting for $68 million for this school. That was in the Capital Improvement Fund. We were looking for it. I've had parents in these rooms looking over contracts, looking over city budgets, trying to find $68 million. Lo and behold, as we were fighting for $68 million, we didn't know that this renovation and its completion was going to cost $111 million. And that went to the work that these parents did to fight for their community and their school. And I want to applaud our superintendent, because this was when we first started that campaign, she was the assistant superintendent. And by the end, in the middle of the campaign, she became the superintendent. So under her leadership, under Craig's leadership, we got this done. And I want to thank each and every one of you, and shout out to all of the parents that made this work. They're not here, but shout out to Natalie Langles and a host of other parents that were committed to this. Thank you so much for this opportunity to speak. I am honored. This is a gem in our community, and I am excited. I can't wait for my children to go here. I can't wait for the children who are going to graduate from here to come back here and have some amazing things to say about their education. Thank you, and God bless you.
So that concludes the portion of political leaders, elected officials, and so forth. We're going to move on now to another young lady who impressed my socks off a few years ago when she recited a poem at the state capitol at the annual Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Holiday Commission event that's held to commemorate Dr. King's birthday. This young lady's name is Angel Wells, and I've said this before, I'm saying it today, I'll say it again into the future. Her demeanor is so sweet, so precious. Her mother couldn't have named her a better name. Her brother, phenomenal as well. Her mother, Miss Yvette, a former analyst for the commission, just as sweet, so the apple does not fall far from the tree. It is with extreme pleasure that I welcome Miss Angel Wells to the stage. And as she makes her way, I just wanted to add a few details about her because I didn't have them in front of me. But she's 18 now, and she created an organization when she was in the 5th grade. She's formed partnership with Connecticut's Children's Hospital, local schools, shelters, and senior housing communities. And just, Angel is phenomenal. She is a founder of Pages Come to Life, which is a service organization that encourages literacy and service to others. I went a little long in the introduction, but the kids you don't know just yet, and you need to know who they are, so that when it's time to vote for them or to, give them praise at a later date, you'll remember you met them here. Miss Angel Wells.
Good afternoon. I want to ask you a question, and that is, what is your life's blueprint? Whenever a building is constructed, you usually have an architect who draws a blueprint, and that blueprint serves as a pattern, as a guide. And a building is not well erected without a good, solid blueprint. Now each of you is in the process of building the structure of your lives, and the question is whether you have a proper, a solid, and a sound blueprint. I want to suggest some things that should be in your life's blueprint. Number 1 in your life's blueprint should be a deep belief in your own dignity, your own worth, and your own somebodyness. Don't allow anybody to make you feel that you're nobody. Always feel that you count. Always feel that you have worth. And always feel that your life has ultimate significance. Secondly, in your life's blueprint, you must have, as the basic principle, the determination to achieve excellence in your various fields of endeavor. You are going to be deciding, as the days, as the years unfold, what you will do in life, what your life's work will be. Set out to do it well. And I say to you, my young friends, doors are opening to you, doors of opportunity that were not open to your mothers and fathers. And the great challenge facing you is to be ready to face these doors as they open. Ralph Waldo Emerson, the great essayist, said in his lecture in 1871, if a man can write a better book, or preach a better sermon, or make a better mousetrap than his neighbor, even if he builds his house in the woods, the world will make a beaten path to his doorstep. This hasn't always been true, but it's becoming increasingly true. So I would urge you to study hard, to burn the midnight oil. I would say to you, don't drop out of school. I understand all the sociological reasons, but I urge you that in spite of your economic plight, in spite of the situation you're forced to live in, stay in school, and when you discover what you will be in life, set out to do it, as if God Almighty called you at this particular moment in history to do it. Don't just set out to do a good job. Set out to do such a good job that the living, the dead, or the unborn couldn't do it any better. If it falls your lot to be a street sweeper, sweep the streets like Michelangelo painted pictures. Sweep the streets like Beethoven composed music. Sweep the streets like Leontine Price sings before the Metropolitan Opera. Sweep the streets like Shakespeare wrote poetry. Sweep the streets so well that all the hosts of heaven and earth will have to pause and say, Now here lived a great street sweeper who swept his job well. If you can't be the pine at the top of the hill, be a shrub in the valley, but be the best little shrub on that side of the hill. Be a bush if you can't be a tree. If you can't be a highway, just be a trail. If you can't be a sun, be a star. For it doesn't matter what sides you win or fail. Be the best of whatever you are. Thank you.
Next up, we have Dr. Stacy Brown, who is the Commission's current secretary and a wonderful colleague who I've had the pleasure of getting to know through my work on the Commission. And her little mini-me McKenna was up earlier with the poem in Mandarin, or the prayer in Mandarin.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for hanging in there because this is such an important event, and I know we're running a little bit over, but it's really valuable to be here. And several people so far have used the word inspired. I want to echo that sentiment. I am so inspired by these young people. I know Lori has mentioned many times that we need to pour into them, but they have poured into me today, and I hope they have for all of you as well. I'm here just to share the members of the commission. You've already met our Vice Chair, Lori Stewart, as well as I'm sorry, I think he had to leave, our Pastor A.J. Johnson, Kristen Shorter, it's right over here. And I'm just going to list the names of the commissioners who are not present today, but they are present in their hearts and minds. Karen Cato, Andrea Comer, Seth Freeman, Dr. Stephen Hoffler, Bobby Ramos, Mandy Wennis, and our analysts, Guy Fort, Tasha Lewis-Hayes, Devon Tanksley, Chris Williams, Shari Woods. And now I would like to introduce as Pastor Johnson mentioned earlier, Donna Campbell, our Madam Chair, is the first female chair of the Dr. Martin Luther King Holiday Commission. The commission has been in existence for more than 35 years, and she is our first Madam Chair. So please welcome Ms. Donna Campbell.
And as our Madam Chair makes her way to the podium for the closing address and the announcement of a joint venture, which she'll be joined on the stage by Dr. Doreen Crawford, I just wanted to mention that it has been an absolute pleasure. Donna's the type of person who can ask you to do something, and hours later, when you're pulling an all-nighter like you did in college, and you're wondering why your eyes can't close, all you know is that when Donna asks you, you want to say yes, because she's so sweet, generous, humble. Her spirit just exudes so far beyond her person, and it's hard to say no to her. So I'm going to have to go to rehab or something because Donna gets me working. Miss Donna, Chairwoman Campbell. And so with great pleasure, I bring our chairwoman, as everyone else has mentioned, the first female chairwoman of the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Holiday Commission to the podium.
Good afternoon, and thank you all for being here. It's an honor to be here. It's an honor to be with you all this afternoon. As Stacy mentioned, the program has gone longer than we expected, so my remarks are going to be brief, but I do have to acknowledge our illustrious Master of Ceremony. Lori Stewart did a phenomenal job. As she said, I twisted her arms, her legs, her teeth. I twisted everything I could, got everything out of her. Then I pushed her up on stage, and she did what she did so remarkably well. So we have to thank her. And I want to thank all of you here who participated today. It's such an honor and a pleasure to be in your presence. I am thankful for all the dignitaries. Some had to leave. We're going over time somewhat. They had other commitments. But I wanted to stand before you today, first and foremost, to talk about this beautiful, beautiful school. If you'll just take 1 second, a sweeping look at this beautiful, beautiful auditorium. And the rest of the school, I hope you get a chance to see it in its entirety. But it is beautiful, and it's the hard work of so many people who have spoken today, and certainly the principal of this school, Dr. Dorothy Crawford, who always kept the faith. I'm so pleased to meet her and to announce today that the Martin Luther King Jr. Holiday Commission has formed a partnership with this school. We will do everything in our power to make sure that these children feel empowered, and that many of them who may feel that they are at a loss or in darkness, that they will be led to the light. I'd like to thank you for opening your school to us today and allowing us to come in and then to accept our offer to become partnership. And I think this is going to be a great collaboration, and I so look forward to it. I thank all of the people who are here in the audience. I won't call your name. Lori has called them. And all the young people today who've been such an instrumental part of this. And I just want to say, can you feel, or ask the question, can you feel a brand new day today? Can you feel the power of what we're doing today? I feel it, and I hope you do. And I just wanted to thank Nushette Black-Burke. She's the Hartford Public School Chief Engagement and Partnership Officer. She worked diligently with us to get this program going, and all the wonderful commissioners of the Martin Luther King Holiday Junior Commission. I can't do without them. Stacy Brown is another one. Her hands are worn out right now. I'll give her another week or two to rest them up. We have another project coming on board. And I want to especially thank someone in the audience who's very dear to me, very dear to me. We go way back. We went to elementary school. We grew up together in the same neighborhood, and she's here today, and her name is Althea Washington Carr. Now, Althea is a former teacher in Hebron. She's a retired teacher, and she does everything she can to work with the community, and she's now partnering with other parts of other communities to make sure there's equity and equality, especially as it relates to education in our youth. So I want to thank her for coming from Hebron today to be with us. Althea, please stand. There she is. Thank you so much. And as I close my part out, I would like to just read a poem that inspired me. And not only did it inspire me because the note sounds kind of dreary, but after I finish the poem, I know that there's hope, because when you hear the end of the poem, you know that there's another step to this. The poem is by James Patrick Kinney, and it's entitled The Cold Within. 6 humans trapped by happenstance, and bleak and cold and bitter. Each one possessed a stick of wood, or so the story's told. They're dying in need of logs. The first man held his back. 4 of the faces round the fire, he noticed one was black. The next man, looking across the way, saw one not of his church, and couldn't bring himself to give the fire his stick of birch. The third one sat in tattered clothes. He gave his coat a hitch. Why should I log and put it to use to warm the idle rich? The rich man just sat back and thought of the wealth he had in store, and how to keep what he had earned from the lazy, shiftless poor. The black man's face bespoke revenge as the fire passed from sight. For all he saw in his stick of wood was a chance to spite the white. The last man of this forlorn group did naught except for gain. Giving only to those who gave was how he played his game. Their logs held tight in death's still hands was proof of human sin. They didn't die from the cold without. They died from the cold within. This poem says to us, we can get into our tribalistic attitudes. We can stand over here because we're this and we're not that. We can continue to be separated, or we can say, there is light. And each birch of fire that comes from our light is going to illuminate the world. Let's look for hope. Let's look for illumination. This program is all about hope, illumination, love, and partnership. I hope all of you get that vibe. And as I take my closing seat, I will say to you again and ask the question, can you feel a brand new day?
And next, as we're winding down to a close, we're going to ask Dr. Doreen Crawford, principal of the Dr. Martin Luther King Social Justice Middle School, to please come to the podium. And Mr. Davis.
Dr. Crawford, thank you. Once again, this is just a little reminder of the light that you bring to the community. God bless you.
Thank you.
On behalf of all of our students, administration, staff, and the parents of this Dr. Martin Luther King Social Justice Middle School, I want to thank everyone who had a good word to say for our school here, those who shared their experiences here. Thank you all. And especially, I want to thank the commissioners for your offer of partnership with us here at Dr. King School. Thank you, and I can assure you that we will continue to make our Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. vision, dream, mission stay alive here in this building for our students and their future. Thank you very much. Thank you on behalf of all of us.
And I'd like to now ask the commissioners to come to the stage for the closing. Cheryl Sharp as well, please. And I'd also like to ask, in addition to those I've just mentioned, McKenna Lindsay, Dubar Elad Burke. I'm going to try to pronounce her name correctly. It is Mei-Ling Thieu Caldera, Geldon Farah, if he's still present. Thank you. Please come to the stage, Geldon. Thank you so much. What we're doing now, you all, is symbolic. A final act as we move from loss to light together in this program. We've asked different speakers to come up and say in their native tongues, from loss to light. That is the affirmation. We're going to dim the lights, the overhead lights here in the building, and while those lights are being dimmed, we're going to observe. The time has moved on pretty quickly. It was going to be a 10-second moment of silence. We'll make it a 5-second moment of silence. And I'll call each person forward to say their affirmation. In Spanish, McKenna Lindsay.
De la pérdida a la luz.
In Hebrew, Dubar Elad Burke. Dubar's a young lad, and I think he had to leave a little bit earlier with his mother. In Mandarin, Mei-Ling.
Mai sát undong long.
In Somali, Geldon Farah.
Rajo Laan Ifteen Kadam Ba'a.
And now in English, we ask everyone to join in to simply say from loss to light, as all of the lights come back on. From loss to light. Thank you, Mr. Davis. And now our program officially concludes. We move on to the book signing with Miss Mariah Cubano and her brother Tyshawn Yap. If you have not purchased a book yet, please, we encourage you to do so. And please also have your book signed.
Again, thank you everyone for attending. Thank you so much to the State Commission. We have gone a little bit longer, but it was a great experience. However, please support the book signing, but we do have to clear the bus lane to get the children home in a safe manner. So if you've parked on the front side here, we will ask you to please get to the book signing quickly, but we need to clear that lane as quickly as possible. Thank you again for a beautiful, beautiful experience. Thank you, State Commission.
Thank you, Lucia. Thank you.